What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Lakeside View. I'm your host, Big Win, and coming at you today. The lineup's pretty much been set. We picked up a total of 14 players. Now we're going to go over the lineups, the matchups, I guess, between the top contenders in the Western Conference. We'll save the Clippers for last, so we'll go over a few teams. You look at the Houston Rockets. You're stacking them up against our lineup. I think that we destroy those guys. You're looking at Clint Capella versus Anthony Davis or DeMarcus Cousins. We saw what DeMarcus Cousins did to these guys last year. I think they take that guy's lunch money. Then you look at Houston's side. Are you going to put PJ Tucker on Anthony Davis? I wouldn't, but what other options do they have? You have a situation where we match up pretty well with Houston. I don't think that Houston really stands a chance. Chris Paul is a lot older, and if we are moving LeBron over to the point guard, are you really going to ask Chris Paul or Eric Gordon to guard LeBron James? I mean, good luck if that's the case. You're going to have a lot of driving kick situations. I don't think Houston has the horses to match up with us with the lineup that we have. And I mean, the shooters that we have, if Danny Green's not on, you bring in Troy Daniels. If Troy Daniels isn't on, you bring in Quinn Cook. If Quinn Cook's not on, maybe KCP is on. I think in this situation, the Rockets, we beat them pretty easily. You look at the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets are a team that had the top seed last year, couldn't get out of the Western Conference. They lost to Portland at the house in Game 7. You look at this matchup, I think everybody's making a big deal out of Michael Porter coming back. I mean, I don't understand how you have the same team, couldn't get out of the Western Conference, and now you have an injury-prone guy who pretty much nobody's seen play. I mean, unless you're really into basketball or really into, Michael Porter's career as a high school player. He did not play in college very much, and now he's in the pros. He missed his first year. He messes up his knee in practice this year. I don't see how that's going to get them over the top. And I mean, you look at game footage from last year, DeMarcus Cousins obliterated Jokic. I mean, he pretty much did whatever to him he wanted to. Again, you're looking at the same thing in terms of matchups. Paul Millsap on Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is pretty much the X factor in all of these lineups. So I'm going to try to break it down as best I can. But let's for time purposes, let's just leave that Anthony Davis aspect out of it. You're going to put Jamal Murray on LeBron James. That's not going to work, obviously. I think that Rondo comes in and he pretty much will give Jamal Murray problems in terms of his defensive prowess. Rondo with his long arms and his ability to pass the ball. I think that we give Denver problems. Going into Portland, we beat Portland twice last year with a depleted roster. I don't think Portland's going to be much of a problem. I know they were a 3 seed last year, but Damian Lillard and his running mate McCollum are pretty much the only two primary offensive options. They traded for Bazemore. They kept Rodney Hood. I don't think that that's going to really help him out too much. You're going to get your center back in Nurkic Jokic, I think it is. I forget the Jokic's and Jokic's of the league, but Jokic is going to come back. Again, DeMarcus Cousins is the antidote for that guy. I don't think they have a lot of answers. They traded away some of their bench depth to get Bazemore. I don't think he's going to put them over the top, so we'll move on from there. You look at Utah. Utah made a lot of good moves this offseason, picking up Connolly and Bogdanovich. But other than that, they got Royce O'Neal coming off their bench and Dante Exum, and not very much other than those two. Again, DeMarcus Cousins gave Gobert problems last year. He matches up real well with Gobert. And you have a situation where Utah is very top heavy. You get past their starting 5, you start benching guys. You got to hope that guys don't get injured. Mike Conley has a very long injury history. I don't think that Utah is going to be as good as people say. They are going to win some games because their starting 5 is very talented. But once you start getting to the meat and potatoes of their lineup, you're going to have a hard time trying to guard some of these teams that want to run the floor. You're going to have these guys playing 82 games. That's obviously not going to work. You run those guys down, they're pretty much not really a problem. The Warriors, I don't think they're going to do too well this year. Bring in D'Angelo Russell. You have Steph Curry as well. Both of those guys not very good defensively. One of those guys is going to have to guard the other team's best wing player. and I don't think that's going to be an easy task for either one of them. They're both, good shooters. Steph, of course, best shooter I've ever seen. But again, you can't hide him without having Clay or Iguodala. I think the Iguodala loss is going to be huge for them. I don't know how they're going to overcome that. Wait and see what the rest of their roster is going to look like. But, I mean, you're bringing in Willie Cauley-Stein pretty much to replace DeMarcus Cousins. He's a pick-and-roll kind of guy. The Warriors don't run pick-and-roll a lot. Maybe Cauley-Stein and D'Angelo Russell can run the pick-and-roll, but you're really taking the ball out of Steph's hands by doing so. I don't think that that's going to be beneficial for the Warriors. Question marks with Livingston. Who knows if he's going to come back or not. You lose Quinn Cook to the Lakers, of course. Again, I don't think the Warriors are really going to compete for much next year. I know they have that championships mentality. Draymond's not going to let them fall too far, but again, he can only do so much. Going through the rest of the West, not too many teams. I think the Spurs, they picked up Marcus Morris. Pretty much have a very similar team to what they had last year. DeMar DeRozan's in his last year of his contract, I believe, where he has a player option the following year. I don't expect much out of them. I know Popovich coach team is always, you can't count them out. And I'm not counting them out, but look for the Spurs to be a middle of the pack kind of team, 4 seed, 5 seed, maybe even a 6 seed. I don't see Minnesota making the playoffs next year after they were exposed. Jimmy Butler beating, Wiggins and Towns with a bunch of bench warmers. Minnesota kind of exposed themselves. Which leads me to the Clippers. Everybody is pretty much penciling them in as a Western Conference champion. I don't see it. You're looking at really 3 guys. Kawhi, Paul George, and Lou Williams are going to be your main scorers. Patrick Beverley is not a scorer. Montrezl Harrell is not a scorer. Landry Shamet, he's a decent scorer, but you can't expect him to score 18-plus points a game a night. That's not his game. You lose Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You lose Danilo Gallinari. You have a team of guys that play good defense, but defense doesn't put points on the board. You still got to score points. Paul George has shown himself to be mentally unstable, let's just say, late in games. He's not very reliable. They did a statistical rundown on him. I think he has, he has no game-winning shots for his career. I know he had demanded that C.J. Miles pass him the ball when they were both in Indiana. I mean, the guy just doesn't really have what it takes late in games. We saw what Damian Lillard did to him. The guy's running out the clock. You have a good 4 or 5 inch advantage on this guy. Why are you playing off the ball? Play up. Make sure you make it as difficult a shot for him to take as possible. And he allowed Damian Lillard to pretty much end their season and his career in Oklahoma City. Kawhi Leonard, this guy had 22 games that he missed last year due to load management. The difference between this Clipper team and that Raptor team last year, that Raptor team had a lot of talent. People underestimated. I know they said they didn't have any lottery picks on that team, but let's not act like Fred VanVleet couldn't play. He was on the Wichita State team that was number 1 ranked in the nation. Pascal Siakam was an all, whatever conference it was, player. I mean, the guy has game. And Anunoby was there. He didn't play in the playoffs, but he was there. Ibaka played a role. I mean, Toronto had talent. They had guys that could score. The Clippers don't have that. You have a situation where if you're expecting Kawhi Leonard to miss, even if he's missing only 15 to 17 games, which is a lot, who's going to fill that void that he has? Not only defensively, but offensively. You're relying on Kawhi Leonard now to be a two-way player the whole season. You can't have a situation, because the Clippers aren't as deep as people make them out to be. You don't have a situation where you can bench him or sit him for an extended period of time and just have Landry Shamet or whoever else you want to fill in that role to come and give you those points that you need. Going back to Paul George, this guy just had shoulder surgery on both his shoulders. I mean, how effective is this guy going to be? We don't really know if he's going to be capable of playing all these games. And if he is, who knows? I mean, again, I don't think the guy has the heart that it takes to be successful. I think that's why he wasn't able to beat LeBron when they had number 1 seed in Indiana. He wasn't able to get over that hump. He never got to a championship game. As talented as he is, I think he just lacks it mentally. And I think that he's going to get exposed next year. So all in all, going over pretty much roster spot for roster spot, I think that the Lakers have the deepest team in the NBA. They have the two best stars in the NBA. You have the one guy who's the elder statesman in LeBron, who's already said, I'm willing to take a back seat. I'll play the point guard role, which obviously is going to give everybody in the league nothing but problems. You know, you have a 6'9" guy who can handle the ball, who everybody said before he got to the Lakers was one of the most cerebral players in the game. He always makes the best basketball decisions. Take that out of it for a second. Again, you have Anthony Davis, who is the best skilled big man in the game by far. No comparison whatsoever. You have DeMarcus Cousins, who just 2 years ago was an all-star, averaging 25 and 12. I know he had a torn Achilles. He tore his quad. But before he tore his quad with the Warriors, he was averaging 16 points per game with limited touches. He obviously wasn't a primary option on that team. He still was able to shoot the ball. He's able to space the floor out. And again, he's a load on the low block. He's going to give any center in the league problems. And more importantly, he's going to allow Anthony Davis to not play center. He's going to allow Anthony Davis to not play the bigger players on the other team. He's going to be able to kind of roam wherever he wants, get in spots where he's going to be successful. And I think that that's going to be a major advantage for us. You have Kyle Kuzma. Whether Kuzma comes off the bench or whether Kuzma starts, depending on how the lineups are set up. This kid averaged 18 points a game last year. He's got that type of skill set where you can't play up on him because he'll go by you. You give him too much space, he'll hit the three right in your face. The kid has all the tools. I'd like to see him play a little bit better defense, which I think he will. He's been working with Lethal Shooter all off season. So the guy's shooting percentage, I believe, is going to go up. His confidence is there. I think he's more than capable of taking that next step. Again, I kind of touched on it earlier. We have several shooters now, which we didn't have last year. You have Danny Green, who's a career high 40% shooter, a career average 40% shooter from three. You have Troy Daniels, who's shooting 40+% from three. You have Quinn Cook, who's shooting 42 or 43+% from three. You have Jared Dudley, who can also hit three-pointers. Several guys on this team where if one guy is not on, you could easily switch him out for somebody else. Somebody could come in and definitely fill that void. So the thing we didn't have last year was shooting. We definitely shored that up. Again, we're very versatile. We can go big. We can go small. We can go guard heavy. We can go front court heavy. We can go a multitude of different point guard options. Rondo coming back. I mean, that's huge for us. You can go with a Quinn Cook point guard situation where you have him, Danny Green, LeBron, Kuzma, AD. The list goes on and on. I mean, the possibilities are literally endless. I think that we match up well with any team, not just Western Conference teams. We can also go with Eastern Conference teams. We'll do that for a different video. But just kind of wanted to give that breakdown. You know, I'm hearing a lot of people talk about the Clippers are a shoe-in. You turn on all these sports networks and all of them are talking about it's the Clippers to lose and there's no contest. And it's just disrespect to the Lakers. I mean, let's just be honest with each other. Nobody wants to see the Lakers succeed. Everybody hates the fact that we got 16 championships. We're about to get number 17. Everybody hates the fact that LeBron James chose to be here. LeBron James was able to get Anthony Davis here. Anthony Davis wanted to come here. So all the whole narrative of nobody wants to play with LeBron is garbage. We all know that this is nonsense. LeBron James, everybody said, was one of the best players. Now all of a sudden he's late. He's on the back nine, which may be the case. We've never seen him get injured before. He had a long injury last year. I get that. But again, if you're going to bring in this level of talent and you're going to bring in these guys that are going to allow him to take games off, to make sure that we don't have a situation where he's overplaying, overexerting himself, he's going to be fresh for the playoffs. He's going to have a lot of guys that he relies on. Danny Green he played with. We might go get Kyle Korver. Kyle Korver, I believe, is in the process of getting waived by the Phoenix Suns. If that's the case, I think we should go pick up Korver. He has that familiarity with LeBron. They played together with Cleveland for the past few years. Definitely another shooter, can't hurt us. Korver's not the best in terms of defense, but again, you're not bringing him in for his D, you're bringing him strictly for his shooting. If that's the case, I think that puts us over the top. I don't think there's any team in the league that really has a chance. You match any team up in a 7-game series, I take these Lakers 100 times out of 100. I think that this is the year that we get number 17. We tie those garbage Celtics. and then we pass them up the following year. This is our NBA to lose. I think, again, the way that we match up, not just with the rest of the league, but especially with the Clippers. I can't wait to see that game happen. I want to see how the Clippers stack up against our lineup, what they do to adjust to our style of play, because that's really how it's going to go. We don't need to really adjust to their style of play because they really don't have a style. Again, they have 3 guys that are going to be their main primary offensive options. Once you kind of take one of those guys out of it, which I think Paul George will be the easier one, I think they fold. If they're going to rely on Kawhi Leonard and Lou Williams to be the primary ball scorers, they're going to be in trouble. So, again, thanks guys for watching the video. Comment down below if you have any issues or questions. If you disagree with me, whatever I've said, please feel free to leave a comment below. Try to make it as PG as possible. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so anytime we drop a video, you guys will be notified. And see you next time.